Today, we're having a conversation I've been wanting to bring to the podcast for a little while now, one that I think so many women need, especially those of us who feel deeply, think deeply, and tend to carry a lot. Is that you? We are talking about happiness and why I actually think it's overrated. Happiness, in the way most of us understand it, is fleeting. It's circumstantial, it's fragile, it rises and falls with whatever may be happening around us. But joy, true joy, is something else entirely. Joy is deeper, joy is steadier. Joy can coexist with sadness and complexity. And joy is something you can cultivate and access even in a full or difficult season. And I would argue it's really important, particularly in the difficult seasons. So in this episode, we're going to explore the science of happiness, the science of joy, and the deeper, more grounded form of well-being that psychology calls eudaimonia. And I'm going to teach you how micro moments, tiny, often overlooked moments, can open the door to a more meaningful, psychologically rich life. This is a conversation about depth, alignment, and the kind of well-being that actually lasts. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Power to Flourish podcast, where science meets the art of a beautiful life. I'm Dr. Andrea Line, positive psychologist, giftedness expert and coach, and modern-day spiritual godmother to brilliant, deep-feeling women. This isn't just another self-help podcast. It's a sanctuary, a sacred space to come back to yourself. Each week, we'll explore the emotional experience of gifted, sensitive women and what it means to live a life that feels as beautiful as it may look. Because flourishing isn't a luxury, it's your birthright, and your life is waiting. This is the Power to Flourish podcast. So before we talk about the science, we need to clarify what we mean by joy. Or here, I'm going to clarify what I mean by joy, because psychology and everyday life use the same word in very different ways. So in academic psychology, joy is considered a momentary positive emotion. Like all emotions, they don't last long. So researchers like Barbara Fredrickson describe joy as a brief spark of warmth, openness, or lightness, something you feel for a few seconds or maybe minutes at most before it fades. It's beautiful, it's important, and it plays a powerful role in emotional resilience. But for many of us, especially for those of us who think and feel deeply and just walk through life with a lot of awareness, heightened awareness, the word joy points to something much richer. That is how I'm going to use it here today. It's not fleeting. It's not dependent on circumstances, and it's not something that disappears the second life gets hard. So I am using it more in a spiritually grounded way. I think joy, in the way most people use it, not, again, academic psychology is its own space with its own definitions. We usually think of joy as more of an inner orientation. It's that sense of groundedness, purpose, connection, or peace, and lightness, happiness, but in a deeper way, right? That stays with you even when everything around you feels uncertain or heavy. Joy can sit beside sadness. That may be hard for some of us to grasp, but it absolutely can. It can coexist with grief. It doesn't require a perfect day or perfect circumstances. It comes from something deeper. And this distinction matters because when you understand that joy is not the same as happiness, you stop chasing emotional highs and you start cultivating an internal foundation. So let's make these three distinctions really clear. Again, for the purposes of this discussion, happiness in research terms it's about those positive emotions. It's sort of like when I said that academic psychology defines joy as one of the primary emotions. Happiness is sort of the offshoot of that, right? But we often can think of it as like more along the lines of maybe life satisfaction. It's an overall sense that life is going well. We feel good. It's often tied to external circumstances. We feel happy about something. We feel happy. We woke up happy. Life is going well. something good happened to us today, we feel happy. Joy, again, in the everyday, spiritual, more like emotional, spiritual sense of it, is this deeper and more sustaining, pervasive, grounded place of being. The way I think of joy is it's something that's chosen and cultivated and available. And you could say the same thing for happiness, and a lot of people do. And we sort of can use these terms in overlapping ways. So that's why I wanted to be really clear about what I am talking about here and how I am defining them. But plenty of people and plenty of positive psychologists and writers write about happiness, so, sort of are in this broader sense. And I do believe we can choose our happy. Absolutely. But today, I'm speaking about it from the concept of joy. There's this beautiful concept in psychology that captures what I'm talking about, this joy, really well. It's called eudaimonia. Eudaimonia. If you see the word and you try to pronounce it, you'll get tripped up. So I'm going to say it one more time. Eudaimonia is a term Aristotle used to describe a life of meaning, purpose, authenticity, and alignment. A life of meaning, purpose, authenticity, and alignment. Modern psychology uses it to describe a form of well-being rooted not in pleasure, which again, we think more about happiness in that way, but in inner coherence. This is what I'm talking about. This is what really this whole podcast in some way, shape, or form is talking about. Inner coherence. It's living in alignment with who you are truly. Eudaimonic well-being is stable. It's more stable because it's deep. It's connected to your values, your purpose, perhaps your faith, your relationships, and your sense of who you are and who you're becoming. And in many ways, this deeper eudaimonic well-being is what most of us actually mean when we are talking about joy. Joy is a lot easier to say, so we're going to say joy. So when we talk about joy in this episode, I'm referring to both the momentary micro experiences that shift your nervous system. We talk about that. And the deeper grounded sense of meaning that grows through psychological richness. Both matter, both are essential, and most importantly, both are available to you. Now let's talk about why joy, especially the deeper sustaining kind, that eudaimonia that I just described, can feel so elusive, particularly for gifted, emotionally intelligent women. First, as I've said many times on this podcast, gifted women overthink often. Your mind moves fast, you're processing 12 layers of meaning at once, and joy requires presence. And presence can be hard when your brain is sprinting. Do you ever feel that? I know so many gifted people I've worked with over the years that just said, like, I don't know how to get my brain to stop. And here's the thing, your brain has been beautifully wired to just go, 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 go. It just goes fast. It goes faster than sometimes you can like harness it. Second, gifted women carry a lot of responsibility, emotional, relational, logistical. And so you're the one managing the family dynamics. You're the one mediating tension. You're the one supporting everyone else's emotional world. And that load can create very little space for joy if you are not very careful and very intentional. Third, your sensitivity and your intensity means you feel a lot. Sometimes you feel like you just feel everything. And so when your nervous system is overstimulated like that, joy gets harder to access, not because you're doing anything wrong necessarily, but because your system is trying to just protect and manage you in the moment. And fourth, many gifted women grew up in environments where joy just wasn't modeled, or even worse, maybe it wasn't safe or consistent. So you learn to scan, anticipate, and stay ready. And that was the priority. And joy requires this sort of vulnerability and softness that can be really hard for women who grew up in environments like that. So if joy hasn't come easily, whether you're a gifted woman or not, there is nothing wrong with you. You are wired for joy, and you're also wired for that depth. And with that depth comes complexity. So The cool thing about this is that complexity also creates heightened potential for a psychologically rich life, which is what we're going to talk about next. And we often don't talk about this, the importance of a psychologically rich life, but this is a concept I absolutely love. And I'm so excited to bring it to you today if you haven't heard of it. It's another dimension of well-being. That's all it is, really. It's differentiated from happiness, and it's even differentiated from meaning per se. So psychological richness is the sense that your life is full of depth, curiosity, insight, perspective, growth. It's like emotional texture. It is rich. It's what happens when you experience and you allow yourself to experience the full range of being human. When you learn and you stretch and you explore, reflect, and you just allow yourself to be impacted and changed by life. And I'm just going to go out on a limb and say, I think gifted women crave psychological richness. It is what makes you come alive. And here's a very important connection I want you to understand. Momentary micro joy, I'm going to call it micro joy, that momentary feeling, that more in the moment, it opens the door to psychological richness. It widens your perceptual field. It helps your nervous system shift out of protection mode, and it softens your edges just enough to allow curiosity, wonder, perspective taking, and meaning making to come through just a little bit more. And joy is the spark. Joy is the spark. If joy is the spark, psychological richness is the flame. And we want that flame burning bright. That is beyond all the other things. I mean, meaning is important, happiness important, all life satisfaction, all of these things are so important. But I'm telling you, if you're lacking in psychological richness in your life, you're probably feeling a little less alive. So next, I want to talk about the science of microjoy really quickly. This is where the science becomes incredibly hopeful. So Barbara Fredrickson, a very well-known researcher in the positive psychology field, she has a theory called the broaden and build theory. I've talked a little bit about this in other places with gratitude, but really it's a theory about positive emotions overall. And her theory states that even brief moments, just 10, maybe 20 seconds of positive emotion can create measurable shifts in your mind and body. Micro joy doesn't have to be big or dramatic. That is what is so beautiful about the micro part of it, right? It doesn't have to be loud or performative. Micro joy literally just needs to be noticed. It needs your attention. It's that patch of sunlight on the floor, your child's laugh, a warm mug of something good in your hands, right? Maybe it's a moment of quiet in your car, or if you're like me, I mean, I like a good quiet moment, but when I'm in my car, I always have my favorite songs blasting, and it just moves me when I'm in that space, in the music, like losing myself in the music. Maybe it's like the scent of something delicious baking that, brings back fond memories. It could be any of these little moments. It's these micro moments that broaden your attention. They actually can increase your creativity, reduce stress. They strengthen the vagus nerve, which is that nerve that runs from your belly up to your brain and back, and it interrupts the spiral of overwhelm. And instead, it actually begins, if you're paying attention and if you welcome this in, instead of spiraling downward, which we know what that feels like, the spiral downward, it is an upward spiral, which is so beautiful. So basically, a positive emotion begets other positive emotions, and you just are starting here, and then you're going up and going up and going up. It's a beautiful theory, and she has researched so much behind this theory. It's really awesome. So these are like the tiny openings. Like, we do not need to wait for the big, beautiful, perfect vacation, which, by the way, probably is never going to actually happen, right? So like, what are the tiny openings in your everyday? These are the doorways. These are the places in life that if we're paying attention, we get to step into the doorway that's just the possibility of a richer, more grounded internal world that gives us that sustaining, or it's one way, I should say, that helps us enter in to the now and that sustained, grounded place within us that we have more control over than we often give ourselves credit for. So I want to take you through really quickly 4 quick practices. These are simple, practical tools you can start using today to cultivate joy and bring in more of that psychological richness. Okay, practice 1. The 10-second savor. 10 seconds. Choose one small moment each day and stay with it for 10 seconds. That is it. Your brain will do the rest. This can be so simple, like literally in the morning when I'm having my cup of coffee. There was a time in my life where I was like slurping down my coffee on the commute to work and like multitasking and doing all the things and thinking of this and, all that stuff. And then when I started really practicing this, I started it just with my morning coffee. And instead of racing out the door, I take my time first thing with my coffee and I savor it. I love it. 1, because usually my husband has made the coffee. So I'm very grateful for that, but I'm just savoring it. It can be over a cup of coffee. It could be over anything you like. 10 seconds. Savoring it means you are letting it, the whole sensory experience of it, come into you. You are receiving it. You are receiving it and you are sitting with it and you're not letting your mind go to all the million things. 10 seconds. Your brain will do the rest. Okay, practice number 2. The glimmer scan. I know so many of you have heard about glimmers. Glimmers really came from, it's the TikTokification, I love it, of positive psychology research, but I'm going to include it here, the glimmer scan. So at the end of each day, just ask yourself, like, what felt good today? Let the answer be tiny. What did you notice? What were the glimmers? I mean, you can do this throughout the day too, but at the end of the day, if you're really busy, just reflect. It can be imperfect. It's okay. Let it count. Let those little glimmers throughout your day bring to you that moment of like microjoy. Let it be that for you. Practice 3, the delight experiment. I think we overlook delight, being delighted. I just love it. So once a week, I want to encourage you to follow one spark of delight. Again, it can be, and hopefully it will be, incredibly small. It could be lighting a candle and noticing the flicker of the flame like a child would, right? This is also like wonder, the delight and the wonder. Maybe it's changing up a playlist and throwing in some songs that you haven't listened to in a long time. And it's just delightful. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, oh my gosh, I forgot how much I love that song, and just delighting in it. Maybe it is stepping outside and going a different way, or like taking a walk in a place you don't normally get to take a walk. And just like let yourself be delighted, follow it, like follow the spark of delight, see where it leads you. Delight is one of the doorways into psychological richness. And I promise you, just set the intention this week. Follow a spark of delight. I love it. Okay. And the last practice, number 4, reduce the joy blockers. So these are all the ones that I just talked about, are sort of like how to let those little micro joy moments enter into your life and actually be paying attention to them. But we also can work to reduce the joy blockers. So for gifted women, joy blockers often can include overthinking, over responsibility, and overwhelm. And if you notice one of these showing up, I want you to pause and shift into something sensory. Okay? If you're overthinking, if you're getting drawn into over responsibility, or if you're starting to feel overwhelmed, I want you to shift into something sensory, meaning focus on your breath, notice the warmth in your hands, use movement very consciously, pay attention to the color or the texture or the sounds around you. You want to shift into the sensory. This is going to help you return to the now, return to the moment. This is really just a form of mindfulness, but mindfulness is going to help you reduce those joy blockers and shift out of that place and help, again, in your brain, like shift from the overthinking to being very fully present in the moment. So I'll just share really quickly that I find for myself when I am working on something creative, this helps me a lot to shift into these simple sensory, like psychologically rich experiences. So when I say I'm working on something creative, I don't necessarily mean I'm sitting down to paint a picture, although certainly I can feel that way if I'm painting a picture, but I am not usually spending my time doing that sort of thing. Now, I know many artists out there, visual artists, and so for you, it could very well be you're sitting down and doing your artwork. Beautiful. For others of us, it may be, for me, often it is in the kitchen. I'm cooking. I am working on something, even if it's not brand new. I like to try different things, but it could just be something I've created many times before. And I'm in the moment. Like I am present. I'm paying attention to what I'm doing. It's the holiday season. So right now I'm also creating things from, doing the decorations and creating beautiful moments and places in the house, or creating little gifts for people. So whenever I'm in that, like I'm in this focused creative mode, that is really a practical way also to shift into, if we're paying attention, right? And we're not just like going on autopilot, to bring in these moments of micro joy, like these little glimmers, these sensory real moments from the week. And you can layer them up. So like if I'm in the kitchen, I'm creating a meal, or I'm creating, like last night I was actually creating some gifts that were foodie in nature, right? But I'm also listening to a beautiful piece of music that I love. And I'm noticing out of the corner of my eye, the Christmas lights twinkling in the corner of my kitchen, because I have a tree in like every room. I'm taking it all in, all the sensory. This is the psychological richness. I'm letting it all come in, and you feel more alive when you are very present and just soaking it all up. So that was a lot. I hope you take one of these practices, and I'll just go over them real quick as a reminder. The first one was a 10-second savor. I like to do it with my morning cup of coffee or my matcha latte in the afternoon. The glimmer scan, whether it's throughout the day or at the end of the day, you just notice those little moments. The delight experiment, which you can set the intention right now to notice and follow a spark of delight throughout your week. And then the last one was reducing those joy blockers. I would love for you to just pick one of those and see if you can just remember and move through this next week practicing one of those. And just keep in mind, again, joy is not the same as happiness. And it's wonderful to feel happy, and it's so good to like soak that up and feel the happiness. But life doesn't just give us opportunities to be happy. We experience loss, we feel sadness, we feel anger, we feel frustration, we feel a range of emotions, and it's all normal and human, and it's okay to feel the range of emotions. But what can steady us through life is that deeper eudaimonic well-being, what I'm calling joy right now, that deeper, steadier place. So if you're feeling like you want to strengthen that, I welcome you to sort of do a deep dive into this practice for yourself. And remember that the smallest, simplest moments, the ones we're probably most tempted to overlook, are often the very moments that open the door to psychological richness. I hope you give yourself permission to notice them. Let joy be small. Let it be gentle. Let it be enough for you, especially right now. If you're listening to this during the holiday season, let it be enough. I hope this episode helped ground you and inspired you to open up to those micro joy moments in your own life. And until next time, keep flourishing. Thank you for listening to the Power to Flourish podcast. I hope today's conversation left you feeling more seen, more supported, and more deeply connected to yourself. And if this episode resonated, would you take a moment to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a friend? It's one of the best ways to help this work reach the women who need it most. You'll find show notes, links, and resources from today's episode at powertoflourish.com. And now just a quick reminder, this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It's not therapy, medical advice, or a substitute for professional support. And listening doesn't make me your therapist or doctor, though if you're looking for a coach, you know where to find me. All right, beautiful one, that's it for now. Until next time, trust yourself, honor your gifts, and keep flourishing.